Hi Jenny, welcome to the Den. How are you?
Hello, Pauline. So nice to be here. I'm very, very good.
Cool. So Jenny, as you know, I like to start those conversations with asking people to tell me a little bit about their story, their journey, the past, the present, and the future. So I'm very curious to learn a bit more about your path that got you where you are.
Mhm. Well, I started as a behavioral scientist by training. And after that, I joined the trend of being a UX designer in the mid 90s, putting people in the center. And back then, the field was very new, it barely
Hmm.
existed, and nobody talked about user experience. So, but I've been working as a consultant almost my whole career, and the drive has always been the same: to solve complex problems, new creative solutions, and create something that is good both for the society and for the planet. And the last 10 years before I started in Antrop, I was in Doberman, and that taught me a lot about how to run and build a company together with your people, and that everyone can contribute, and how important that is to understand yourself alongside with others, like group dynamics and feedback and personal growth. And as a behavioral scientist, I understood how critical that is for building a business. And then I moved to Antrop, and I've been here 10 years as a design lead, building up our service design offer. And service design has, over the years, grown into a much more strategic tool. Design thinking became the base for thinking in systems and system change and business development, the revenue, innovation, and helping companies through transformation in different ways. And I'm still here today. And Antwerp is a great place for that. I have learned enormous in this time here. And also, sustainability runs through much of what we do. And it's hard to think of something that is more meaningful.
Yeah.
So, really, it's a gradual shift, not a single jump from UX through service design to more strategic work.
I see. And I mean, I'm also very interested into learning because I mean, you spent your whole career in consulting, right?
Yeah.
Or like the majority of your career. How did the people side of the industry evolved since you first started?
You mean the people side when it comes to how you create a culture?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like how the companies as groups of people changed.
well, when I started in Doberman, that was a really big learning from that time. That is super important to use your people to build a culture that are really going to be strong, because I think if you just driven towards money and becoming bigger and expanding, that is going to create one kind of culture. But where I come from, the hyper island culture, I didn't go to hyper island, but I've been schooled into that thinking. Your staff is your biggest assets, and they have a really powerful tool to use them to co-create the company and to create a really strong culture. And I think I really believed in that, and I also took that to Antrop to start that culture here as well.
Yeah. And I mean, could you tell me a bit more about your kind of major insights, like what worked, what didn't, when you were doing this for the first time at Doberman, and how your approach then changed now at Antrop? So, what are the things that you tried that worked and you took them with you? What are the things that tried that didn't work and you decided to leave them there? And what are the new things that you are now implementing as you continue building Antrop culture?
Well, I think that in Doberman is a very strong feedback culture. Is a very strong feeling of building the company together, that you discuss all the big questions together as a group, almost like collective
Yeah.
force, and that's super. But what I learned when I came to Antrop is that it's so important to not just have those methods, but also to include that with empathy and kindness. That kindness is a so important tool. And well, it could be in Doberman as well, but here in Antrop, we really found out that you want something, that you don't just give feedback to someone to criticize or to
Yeah.
hurt someone. You do it in a very kind way to help that person to get further on to the next step, or because you really care. And it doesn't mean it's not straight feedback, because feedback could be very hard in some way. It could be very hard to hear.
Yeah.
But it has to be delivered with some kind of love. So that is something that I really learned, and it's going to strengthen the relation between you and the other person if you add that extra layer of kindness.
I mean, I love the word kind per se a lot because there is often a framing that feedback is a gift. So there is always a framing that feedback is a gift, but I think there is very wrong perception, or like often there is a very wrong perception of this framing, because people think that like, oh, feedback is a gift, so you can just give it to anyone in any form or shape, and the other person should be grateful. And for me, it's like, if you give feedback, this means one, you give it to someone that you genuinely care about. Two, you make sure the gift gets received and lands. And you need to be kind in order to do this. Like, I haven't had this training in my head before, but I
Mhm.
like how you are talking. And I'm also curious a bit about learning from your experience, kind of building this feedback culture, because I think for like very long time it wasn't necessarily a thing, right, in the society. I think we just started talking about feedback in multiple organizations in maybe like last
Mhm.
5 or 7 years, and it's also something that is not natural to people.
Yeah.
So how are you solving that? How are you helping your team and your people learn
Mm.
the skill set?
Well, in Antrop, we do have a very outspoken way to say that we have a feedback culture, and but
Mm.
because it's not going to happen by
Yeah.
itself. It's a muscle that you train. As if you do it a lot, you're going to get better. Just to deliver feedback and also to receive feedback. So we are working with that as a whole group, and also in all our teams that we work in. So I think we also have different forms, like we have a skill set, so you can use different exercises depending on where you are the team is going to mature
Mm.
from not knowing each other to well performing team. And
Yeah.
I think you need different things during those phases. So we also have exercises to get to know each other in the beginning. We
Mm.
have exercises to take care of problems or frictions that is going to happen, and also questions for a mature team that is more about understanding why we are working as good as we do, and how can we handle conflicts during the way. And this is not just that we do together with people that work in Antrop. We also involve our clients. So even
I
if they don't want to, they are going to get a little dose of this as well.
I mean, that's very good. If you have something working internally, that's the best thing you can bring to your clients, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, when people tell me stories about something very special they have in their teams, I always like asking about like what's their favorite thing in there. So, what is your favorite exercise or like thing that groups do together at different stages? Like
Yeah.
one, two, three favorite things.
Well, I like exercises that opens up the arena. The arena is the space
Yeah.
between two people or people in the group, and it's about how much you show about yourself. So it's about making that space bigger, that I'm willing to show more about myself. And then is about people letting you know things that you didn't know about yourself, to make my understanding about myself much better. So I like exercises that opens up in different ways, that I understand things about myself, how I work together with other persons, how the way I act is going to land in another person's life, or how I am perceived by other persons, but also things that open up so I can be more personal. And it's not about that I have to show everything about my personal life, just that I'm willing to show more of myself in different ways.
Can you give me an example?
Well, the most simple thing is that you have regular check-ins, and it could, but with questions that can open up something. With a more mature team, you can have a check-in question that is about, when was the last time that you were crying? And maybe
Oh.
you or tell me about something about your childhood. So it doesn't have to be something about your work. It could be also something personal, but you don't do that with a very young team. You have to build trust first before you can
Yeah.
open up. And also feedback, different kind of feedback exercises that let us explore our work relationship, and to package that in different ways, and to have regular check-ins when it comes to feedback as well.
And I would love also to learn a little bit about kind of letting people in this culture, because, and I mean, tell me if my assumption is wrong, but I definitely assume you have certain people who are like at the managerial or lead level who grew up in the company.
Hmm.
For them, most likely it's a pretty natural kind of part of the culture and the
Yeah.
transition. But what happens when you hire people from outside in? How do you kind of onboard them into all of the elements that you've built?
Oh, well, we do have an onboarding program, but that's just the information. What's going to happen is that you need to be on board in the culture, right? So what we have is a few times during the years, we have these exploration days where we meet and we are talking about our culture. We are forming ourselves as a group, and you also learn about yourself. So I think that's a good way to start this journey. And also, as a senior, you also have a responsibility, of course, to introduce the juniors into this way of working when in the first projects. And well, as I said, it's a muscle that you have to train. And sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable if you haven't met this before. So you can't just start with the toughest questions or the toughest exercises. It has to be built built up. And also we realized that it's not for everyone, actually. Some people are always going to feel uncomfortable with sharing things about themselves or to give another person feedback. I think it's also a question of personality, how open you are as a person. And then it's going to be harder.
So what happens then if someone is not comfortable with the culture that, and I mean it's a general question, it's not Antrop specific, but what's the way to kind of continue the relationship with a person who is very different from the culture that you are trying to build? Not necessarily bad person, but I mean someone who is different.
Yeah, well, I think that we had some people who started here and thought that here in Antrop we have a different culture. Maybe they're coming from somewhere else before they landed here, but they didn't last here for a very long time. So a few people, I think they actually didn't fit in. And I think that's okay, because not all companies has to be for everyone. If you're a careerist and you want to, take the big strategic steps toward becoming a boss, then you shouldn't be here, for instance. And also, if you are really against to get feedback or to accept a kindness culture, then I think that you will realize after a while that you fit somewhere else much better.
I have a very kind of tricky, let's say, question to follow up on that. So I'm coming from a culture which is, I mean, not, I wouldn't say McKinsey is a competitive culture, but it's the culture where like go run, kind of become a big boss. And I think the feedback is used as a tool to basically like help you get there.
Mm.
So the objective is that like if, I mean, at least that's the way how always saw it, is like I have people around me who are like my crowd who are cheering for me. And like I do the same for people around me as well. And they give me feedback to help me grow and achieve next level and kind
Hmm.
of get
Hmm.
promoted, etc. I understand from the story that you are telling me is that the Antrop culture is very different, and it's more about like being together, a sustainable kind of future, also like based on the work that you are doing. So, what's the deep meaning behind this feedback culture that you guys are building? So, what does it help you achieve?
Well, it helping us achieve growing as persons and
Hmm.
helping us achieve growing as designers. So I think that for us is a way of getting better at what we do, because it's not always the skill that is the work. Is as much as handling big groups, to co-create together with clients, to get a bond with clients so they get brave and can take big decisions. It's about change management in the organization. So it's about understanding people. And if you
Hmm.
don't understand yourself, it's very hard to understand how others is going to react. And the more stories you hear, maybe you hear, you think I'm in the I'm a normal person, but when you hear stories from other persons, you realize, oh, there's so many different flavors of people.
Of course.
And I need to make sure that all of these people, or a big majority of these people, are on the movement together that you are going to create. Because when we're working with transformation, is always hard. It's going to meet resistance, and it's going to be a lot of work before you work in a new way,
Yeah.
or have reshape your business in different ways. So the knowledge about yourself and other personality types is critical, I think, for doing your job, because it's not about designing elements or
Of course.
new business offer. It's about making people on the same to transform themselves in a in a new direction.
So at Antrop, the feedback culture is all about like helping people around you get to know yourself better. Is that a fair
Well, it's one
summary?
way. It's one way. We also have feedback about work. We call it design triader. We have three
Mm-hmm.
people that get together like every other week, once a month, and it's your little triad team. And then that you are showing your work for your colleagues, so you get feedback of your work, and that's another way of growing as a designer.
Yeah.
So then you have, instead of two eyes, you have six eyes on what you do.
Mm.
So you can get help from your colleagues to get better in different ways. So that's another way to use feedback, but on your skills,
Yeah.
connected to your design.
I love it. Based on like all this culture that you're building, I also know you have a very kind of special way of thinking about Anthrop's strategy and future, both
Hmm.
in terms of, I assume, client work and talent strategy. And I would love to learn more on that.
Mm. Yeah. The last years, I've been working a lot with foresight as one strategic tool together with my whole toolbox. But we are working with that in Antrop to prepare for the future and make better decisions today. So it's not about predicting exactly what is going to happen in the future, but it helps us understand which trends and forces that are going to affect us, which signals that could grow into something big, and it helps us through the noise to see which scenarios that are most likely and which ones could hit us hardest if they happen, so we can get ready. And so foresight is really a broad tool that I use together with design thinking and business thinking and system thinking, and it can work both on single questions and just a few years horizon. And it can also be used in big transformation programs where we're thinking decades ahead. So now when the industry is changing so fast, and we realize that if we don't look ahead ourselves in Antrop,
Yeah.
we're simply going to get left behind. We do it in two steps. First, we do horizon scans a couple of times a year. And then we gather the whole agency, and we come together and we look at who do we want to be in 2030, for instance. And we have really ambitions, and we have themes like the design agency of the future or the circular economy of the future. How can we as designers help to close that gap? So everyone gets a homework, and the homework is to look at your everyday life and your client work. And everyone get the assignment to note anything strange or surprising. What do we see today that wasn't here 2 years ago? And from that, everyone is presenting, and we do scenarios with help of AI, and then the whole team reacts to these scenarios. How likely is this going to happen in 5 years? What signals are already pointing this way, and what kind of opportunities and risk does this open up for us? And then the most provoking and scary and exciting horizon scans we take further into expeditions. And that's focus projects where we don't just do small tweaks of our business. We are trying to pushing as hard as possible the questions as far as we dare to think completely different. And it's a safe space, and we are allowed to fail and everything and learn from it. And here's why it matters. Because if we can keep reinventing ourselves, we can also help our clients to face the future. So that's our belief when it comes to this.
I love it. And I have two specific questions where I would love to spend a bit more time on. So the first one, you said that you do the scenarios with AI.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Well, AI is a tool. It's never going to do the hard work for us.
Of course.
But it helps us to see new angles that maybe we haven't been thinking about. So it's about finding uncertainties. Where do we have big uncertainties? How the future is going to look like? If we look at some things we know. How is the demography going to look like in the future, for instance? But we have big uncertainties when it comes to what kind of role is AI going to lead us into. One of the team that we had last time. So AI help us to find to explore many trends together with each other, and to find out what kind of different futures could possibly be there around the corner, and also to help us to understand how it could impact our business in different ways.
And so you said that like everyone gets a homework. So I assume every person in the organization, they go and they do for like a week or a few days, they do some kind of diary type of exercise. And then like do you have a session together where you feed all of those observations to a prompt, or like I'm very interested in mechanics also, because I love the exercise, and I think it would be very beneficial for a lot of your peers outside of Antrop.
So what we do there is that we are collecting all these trends and signals from our employees. But we also have help of AI to do the horizon scanning, because it could also be something that is very new or small, or that could have very big impact that we don't collect. So we have all these signals and trends, and then we do a selection to see, okay, which of these is most tickling, which of these signals could give us really interesting opportunities, and also what is big threats. So if those trends or signals are growing even bigger, it could be a really hard time for us. So we need to do a scanning here to see which of these signals and trends that we're going to work further with into scenarios. And when we have like 4 or 5 scenarios, then we look at them and see, okay, what kind of different futures do we need to prepare for, and what can we contribute in different scenarios as consultants. What kind of competence do we need? How could our business look like? How do we work with our clients? And then we can do backtracking to see how do we need to prepare in different ways.
Oh my God, I love this so much. I mean, sorry, I will I will ask you a lot of follow-ups here. So you said you do it every 2 to 3 months, or
No, well, we had ambition to do it like 4 times,
okay,
but in real life, it's like 2 years, two times a
two times
year.
a year?
Yeah, because we realized it took a lot of time, and in
Yeah, of
six
course.
months, we still have new signals. When we take the most provoking and scary and exciting scans, and we make focus projects where we're not making these small tweaks of the business, and we are making new business offers, and we are reshaping ourselves in different ways. And a couple of years, as I told you, we had an AI track, for instance, and that led us to start hiring designers with AI skills, AI engineers. And we also built more focused AI offerings, and we were rebuilding several classic UX steps from the ground and up, like research analysis. We use AI a lot for that now. And also in foresight, we use AI for catch weak signals and suggest scenarios and so on. And also, of course, in prototyping. But what I mean is, we didn't just decide, let's get better in AI as some vague goal, that we saw where it was heading, and we were rebuilt our hiring, our offer, and our way of working around that before clients were asking for it in scale.
And I mean, so this means that in your time at Antrop, you've done this at least like 15 to 20 times, the exercise.
No, we started 3 years ago
Ah,
to
okay.
do this on ourselves. I've been doing this for my clients for a long time, but on
Yeah.
our own basis just for 3 years, and that's a pity that we didn't start earlier, because I think that could have helped us through difficult times for the COVID situation, for instance.
COVID.
We could handle that in a different way if we were using foresight on ourselves.
And I have so then like, what are the craziest scenarios you came up with through this time running this on yourselves?
Take this example from the last time we were using AI.
Mm.
Then we're thinking, okay, if AI is taking over more of the classic craft, research, synthesis, and so on, what kind of roles are we going to get? We're going to get maybe a design creator, someone who directs AI, who doesn't do the work itself, but directs AI through the whole production chain, instead of doing the work by hand. How What kind of role could that be? And I was like, no, I don't want to I don't want to work with that. I don't want just to direct AI. I hope that's not going to happen, but maybe, it could be really a scenario. Or the auditor who reviews and sign off AI driven interfaces, and follow up rules, and that things stay ethical, for instance. That could also be like one track and one new role that could appear. Or be more roles connecting to like a space designer. We've seen that field haven't grown the way we thought. So that could also be next level. Who builds experience beyond the screen, voice and room and light and movement? We are very much into the screen, but we think that could be a growing field. So it's not really crazy ideas. It's more about thinking where it could lead us.
And by the way, that was one of the questions I also wanted to kind of spend a bit of time on, because I think like when I studied design, I mean, we were already kind of closer to the screen, but I
Mhm,
was still studying like global experience angle. I think people who studied before me, they
mhm,
were even more into the like broader CX topics. People who came after me, they were very much focused on the screen experience, like sometimes even app versus
mhm,
desktop,
mhm.
the specialization that you were discussing in the beginning. And I'm curious now that I mean, Gen AI specifically, is changing so much the interaction between a designer and their work in digital. How is the physical, the service part of the design will evolve? Do you have a view on that?
Uh, well, I don't have an example how you use voice and things like that, but I'm thinking of one project I did that was very physical and about the future. Was a project that we did together with HSB called Living a Day in the Year 2050.
Oh, very
And then
nice.
we were building a full size apartment in HSB Living Lab in Gothenburg, and was based on real research from IPCC and Swedish Defense Research Agency, and it was showing what everyday life could look like if we fail to slow down climate change. So we use that physical space for people to perceive the future in different ways. So decision makers and politicians who walk through this room, I think that they reacted in a completely different way than they would if we showed something on the screen.
The slides, yeah.
So I think that more physical experience could be one branch for the future, but for something else. Maybe not as a service, but to make people think differently or discuss the future or discuss a very important subject. To start to, it was interesting because in this project we had a researcher because we wanted to know what kind of impact could one of these physical experience have. And we discovered that people were acting totally different after having a physical experience in a much broader way than if you just a digital service.
Because
So
it makes you emotional, I think.
yeah, it makes you emotional and you understand things in a deeper way. You
Yeah.
use your brain in a creative way, I think. So you, it's not about that people wanted to change their behaviors. They also found a much broader spectra of how they could do that after this experience, because you open up something.
I love it. And how, like all those elements that we kind of discussed, the feedback culture, the foresight, like the physical experience, etc. When we were preparing for the conversation, you also mentioned that basically all of the tools that you were using with clients, you were also applying internally to kind of help people grow and evolve and become better designers, etc. Like what are the like what are your we discussed a lot on feedback, of course, but what are your favorite things that you've kind of built internally to help people grow, um, maybe from like the foresight examples, etc., that you would recommend every company to implement?
Mm. Well, I think the foresight is a very powerful tool to open up also the views on your own career and your own possibilities ahead. If you have a very tough scenario, it could be really tough to realize that you probably need to reshape your own business, and or you realize that your role that you have today might not exist anymore, or it might look completely different. But it can also become a driving force to push and tackle the change that you need to make and discover new areas that broaden how you know what you know and how you do today. So I think foresight could be really an eye opener to new possibilities in the future. And we discussed when we talked before, we discussed
Yeah,
also the question that how could juniors become a part of the market again, because we see that
yeah,
recruitment pyramid looks a little bit different now. We
very
don't
tough.
hire juniors as much as we did. We have senior people and people in mid level, but juniors are very, you know, there's so many reasons why we don't hire juniors. But when I was thinking about this question before this talk, I'm thinking that when you look into the future, it's going to be so many more different roles that we can see today. Roles that are not shaped yet, and of course they are going to be part of our everyday life. And I think that juniors could bring something new to the table that we as seniors and mid-levels won't even think about as a new
Mm.
knowledge or a new role. So I think that could be a possibility for us to in the future to have more juniors, but in totally different areas than that are established today.
Yeah, that's also my thought as well, because I think what I observe when I talk to like consulting boutiques and agencies, often they have a very like established core group of people, like mid-level senior people who are like great at their roles, but they're also very busy. And
Mhm.
even like the AI angle, like
Mhm.
most of them, of course, they played with ChatGPT, they played with Cloud Design, but it's rare still that there is a scalable effort to bring this to client work, at least from the conversations that I had
Mhm.
so far. And I think an interesting addition, like a lot of junior talent bring, is that they grew up with those tools. Like they were studying with cloth design and like Lovable, etc. So like it's almost an opportunity to bring in the capability that is not existing internally, that is very much needed, and it is almost becoming like an exchange.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And uh, sometimes we get the question: is AI the reason that agencies are cutting juniors? And yes, it is one of the reasons, but it's not the whole picture. One challenge is that we have much more complexity now in our projects also, and it could be hard for us to invest, years before a junior can fully contribute. So every role has also gotten more. I mean, it has gotten harder, and it
Yeah.
demands more, and at every level. So it's a really tough nut to crack. And I do think that we in the industry has a responsibility to include juniors more. But it could also be solutions on a society level, like politicians make it cheaper to hire juniors, or as we talked about earlier, that the new courses at the university that are put together maybe should be, on different topics. I think it could be one key there. I was reading about what China is doing right now, for
Mm.
example. they completely changed their university works to match the future needs. So they over 12,000 programs have been cut out and replaced with 10,000 new programs within AI and green tech and other high tech fields. So maybe we also need to reinvent the education system.
Yeah, I mean, I always give France as a pretty good example there because, I mean, of course, nothing is perfect, but I think they really did a huge effort there, and I personally think it's a very good, like it's quite a success. So, I mean, of course, as everywhere in the world, when you study, you can get like an internship. That's a very normal thing. But what they implemented is a program which is like it's called alternance,
Hmm.
or like it's basically an extended internship. So when you enter your master, you have in parallel your study, like your school as a university, and you have an employer where like every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the schedule, or like every 3 days during a working week, you spend time on the like actual workplace, and you work and you get paid for it. You don't get paid crazy money, but you are paid like for Paris,
Hmm.
not a huge salary, but for any other city in France, you
Hmm.
can survive on it pretty well. And then what happens after that is that by the time you are out of the master's program, you've had at least 2 years of experience. Not the perfect one, not the ideal one, but still the real one within like a long duration. And I think it helps a lot to increase this
That,
gap with.
that is something really that could be done at the society level, that our politicians could make happen, I think.
Yeah,
And yeah, it could really be one way to tackle this problem.
I love it. And I know I told you last question, but I have the last question.
Okay.
What is the banner behind you saying?
Oh,
The poster.
the poster behind me
Yeah,
saying, we want to design a more sustainable and fair world for our children.
I
So
love
this,
it.
yeah, so this is a mantra for Antrop, and which I really believed in, and is really one of my driving forces. And I think that's why I stayed here for 10 years, because I really think that I am able to contribute to that vision, this future vision that we have.
So cool. I mean, I asked it more out of curiosity, but I think it's such a great closing closing line. Let's design a better world for our children. I
Yes.
love it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Great conversation. Bye.
Bye.